Number 4 overall pick to the Arizona Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. This was his expected landing spot. Connor, it seems like a pretty good one.
The best player in the draft, high floor player, big-bodied wide receiver, so much build-up speed from that 15 to 30-yard range. Just the tracking is A++. The way you just see it when he's working down the sideline. He's somebody route polishing his game. All these Ohio State wide receivers, they come out of that program with such good coaching. Think of Cris, you think of Garrett Wilson, on and on and on. Marvin Harrison, for such a big wide receiver, has that great route, polish and technique, and just the ability to finish plays in the air by dragging his feet in bounds. He's pro-ready in that aspect. Not a lot of one-foot inbounds catches. This guy's going to be a stud in an offense that should get him the ball a lot, Matthew.
I'm thrilled he's not with the Patriots because there were some rumors that he was going to go there. So very excited about them as somebody who has Harrison in Dynasty. Thank you very much. Thank you, Arizona. Look, Michael Wilson's a nice player. We like the human Dortch, Greg Dortch, but he immediately becomes number 1 on an offense that's going to need to throw a lot with a real quarterback in Kyler Murray. You think about DeAndre Hopkins, those couple of years there, had a 27% target share, and I think that's easy to expect for Harrison, a 27 to 30% target share right off the bat. Here's what's weird. I think he's going to have a monster rookie year and still potentially be a disappointment because the hype on him is going to be off the charts. Yes. I think he's probably a borderline top 15 fantasy wide receiver, easily top 20, but I've seen him going top 10 in some early best ball drafts, which is kind of insane, Jay Croucher.
I think the thing with Marv, too, is that Kyler Murray has become the most underrated quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
Kyler Murray is an above-average NFL quarterback. People
Absolutely.
talk about him like he's just another guy. He is a fantastic quarterback. He was the MVP favorite at midseason a couple of years ago, so I think that the pairing of him and Marv should be excellent and should produce basically from the start.
I'm with you, and his best attribute that people don't talk about enough, when it's a scramble drill, the play breaks down. Nobody was better in the country than Marvin Harrison Jr. coming back to his quarterback, climbing the ladder. Kyler Murray running around is going to have his guy. He's going to throw those jump balls too. It's a great fit for Arizona, a great landing spot for Marvin Harrison Jr.
6th overall pick in the draft, my New York Giants, my beloved New York Giants as of late January 2024. Select Malik Neighbors 10 years after taking Odell Beckham, another LSU receiver for my Giants, Connor.
I love this fit. They couldn't get up and get Drake May, so what do? They finally get a true explosive threat through the air, a guy that I think he's a DJ Moore clone, and the usage could be the same. Throw him a screen, run by the entire defense. Have him go vertical, throw the ball over the safety's head. That's Malik Neighbors to me. So productive in this offense. You could play him inside, outside, use him in motion, manufacture touches to him. The Giants have not had a playmaker like this, Jay, and it feels like just so long. I've loved this fit for the entire year, and I understand why they were interested in getting a quarterback of the future, but I like that they didn't reach on J.J. McCarthy, and instead, let's make our offense better. And if we're going to move on eventually down the road from Daniel Jones, the next guy will come into a much better situation because Malik Neighbors is there.
Yeah, listen, it's not an ideal landing spot fantasy-wise. He's probably going to have the worst quarterback of any of the rookie wide receivers. He's not as good as Kyler, right? Daniel Jones is. But having said that, there's no competition for targets. Friend of the podcast, Jalen Hyatt, we kind of like him, but there's rumors that Darren Waller might retire as well. Now you're looking at Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson. He's going to get a massive target share. And I think about Garrett Wilson, another New York rookie wide receiver, went to a bad quarterback, but still had a very productive fantasy season as a rookie. So I think Malik Neighbors, massive target share and massive talent. He's going to be a fantasy factor this year.
I think the thing is, too, is that everyone talks about Daniel Jones as though he's a sunk cost. 2 years ago, Daniel Jones won a road playoff game in Minnesota. Fine. He was very good 2 years ago. He'll have a better offensive line. Neighbors is a weapon that he's never had in the passing game, really. So I think that Jones will be competent enough to get Neighbors the ball and make him productive.
And Daboll's a good enough play caller, by the way, that will figure out ways to exploit his speed and figure out mismatches. So... Good pick by the Giants, by your Giants.
I'm fired up. Let's go, Neighbors.
The right pick for the Giants.
I can't wait for you to wear a Neighbors jersey tomorrow.
Pick 9 in the NFL draft, the Chicago Bears take Rome Odunze, loading up on offense to go with Caleb Williams, to go with Keenan Allen, to go with DJ Moore. This team is loaded now on offense.
I love this move because to me, Rome Odunze, the closest comp for him is Keenan Allen. Now he gets to go be in the same room as Keenan Allen and steal some of those things that's made him such a great NFL wide receiver. And honestly, after this year, Keenan Allen will probably walk in free agency. Now Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams are that really dynamic duo with DJ Moore in the mix as well. Odunze, an outside receiving threat, one of the best contested catch players in the entire country this year, one of the best workers in this entire draft class. What a great situation for Caleb Williams' rookie season.
That's the thing. The rich get richer, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is that when Rome Odunze is your third wide receiver,
good living.
Good. You were living good. You were eating good in the neighborhood, as our friends at Applebee's might say. I'm a company man. The fact of the matter is that while this is great for Caleb Williams, great for the Bears, great for the future, it's not great for his fantasy value. Like I think back about JSN last year, who goes to Seattle, where, by the way, Shane Waldron, the Bears OC, was the OC last year. JSN goes there. He was our best wide receiver coming to the draft, but he goes to a team with Lockett and Metcalf. Finished last year as wide receiver 56. Now, Keenan Allen, could he get hurt? He's more injury prone than Lockett and Metcalf are. But I just think it's going to be hard to draft Odunze as anything other than a late round flyer in redraft leagues this year, because again, at least initially, he's going to be the third option on a passing offense. That should be pretty good.
Yeah, I think this Bears team is going to be fantastic next year. Like they are, it's a tough division, but compare them to a Packers team that was one play away probably from making the NFC title game. I'm not sure the Bears have less talent than the Packers right now. And obviously, Jordan Love is more proven than Caleb Williams, but this team is stacked and they might be really good straight away.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
23rd overall pick in the NFL draft. Beloved producer Stevens, Jacksonville Jaguars. They take Brian Thomas Jr., who I think some people are expecting maybe to fall to the Bills. They don't get him. The Jags get him, another weapon for Trevor Lawrence in what should be a revamped offense. What do you think of the fit?
I love the fit. This offense wants to now push the ball down the field. You signed Gabe Davis. You had Brian Thomas Jr., top 15 player for me. Reminds me of Christian Watson. Length, speed, great athlete. The route tree a little narrow. I mean, basically with LSU, they wanted him working down the field. That's okay. It's a good skill to have. A lot of people said that about DK Metcalf once upon a time, and he worked out just fine. So Brian Thomas Jr., big play threat, great production. He was the player of his state championship basketball game. If you're wondering what kind of athlete this is, very, very unique athlete.
Yeah. And by the way, the other thing is that we've seen this a lot with some rookie wide receivers that in terms of fantasy, like over the second half of the year, they start to come on. And so you sort of feel like Gabe Davis has been inconsistent throughout his career. Zay Jones has had trouble staying on the field. Evan Ingram stayed healthy last year, but he's another guy that's also had some injuries as you think about sort of the pass catchers here. No Calvin Ridley for the Jaguars anymore. So Brian Thomas, I feel like it'll take a little time and we'll see how to expand his route tree, and we'll see what the playing time split is between him and Gabe Davis. But he becomes very interesting in Dynasty and certainly over the second half of the year. Great landing spot long-term for him in a pass-first, fantasy-friendly offense with a pretty good quarterback.
Is there redundancy here with Gabe Davis? Are they going to be similar in the routes they run?
Brian Thomas Jr. is just so much better, in my opinion. And like you said, Matthew, it might take the first half of the season. So you have some protection here if you're Jacksonville, but not a lot of people in the NFL can run like him at 6'3". I thought his 40 was more impressive than Xavier Worthy's because I saw this impact on tape, and he's 6'3", 209 pounds.
Okay, pick 28 in the NFL draft. The Kansas City Chiefs trade up with the Buffalo Bills, and they take Xavier Worthy, one of the more fun picks of the first round, I think. Connor, in your write-up on Worthy, you said that his landing spot would largely define his success. Feels like a pretty good landing spot.
This is the best one, right? And if you're trying to get inside the mind of Andy Reid, he's probably thinking, can this be my new age Deshaun Jackson? I mean, you're talking about somebody that will be one of the lightest receivers in the league, but he will also be one of the fastest players in the NFL. I think he does a really, really good job, obviously, separating deep, but tracking the deep ball. Some of his drops were more focused drops, some stuff underneath the layups along the lines of that. The play strength needs to get better at his weight, but the Chiefs are going to know how to keep hands off of him at the line of scrimmage. This is a dream landing spot for Xavier Worthy and Matthew. He becomes very interesting in fantasy right away.
Yeah, sure he does. Wait, so you said he had issues with the drops in college?
Have you heard that with the Chiefs before?
The Chiefs with a fast guy but has issues with the hands.
He's not MVS.
All right, fair enough. Hey, what? Kadarius Toney? Whatever.
Definitely
no,
not
listen.
that.
Honestly, no. Seriously, of course, he insanely fast player with going to an offensive genius and a quarterback that's got a cannon for an arm. Like fantastic. Now, the other issue is that they have got some other guys like this. They've got Marquise Brown on this roster now. They've got Justin Watson. They've got guys that can fly down the sideline, and so good luck trying to defend all of them. You have to figure out that the off-the-field issues for Rashee Rice may have played somewhat into this pick as well, but certainly fantasy-wise, anytime a guy that has the talent of Xavier Worthy winds up on an offense coached by Andy Reid and quarterbacked by Patrick Mahomes, that becomes really interesting for fantasy. Again, we saw the success that a rookie wide receiver had last year for KC.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, too, is that just visually, this Chiefs offense is going to be able to breathe again. They had no three-point shot last year, just nothing deep for them. Still won the Super Bowl, but this year they should be more explosive like they were with Tirico. Okay, second last pick of the first round, 31. The San Francisco 49ers take Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver, to add to an incredible wide receiving core of Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Question is if these three are actually going to take the field together.
It's funny how things work. When you do your rankings, you have some players who are like, why am I so high on this guy and nobody else really cares? I have Ricky Pearsall 36th. He goes in the first round. So the league ended up loving him.
You're smarter than everyone else except
I wasn't. I was too low. Too low, Matthew.
There you go.
Elite separator. I mean, that's the thing with Ricky Pearsall. Can play inside, outside. Such a good separator from that 0 to 12-yard range. He just understands how to get off the line of scrimmage, varied releases, good speed. The adjustments to the ball are perfect. Catches everything, one-handed catches. I am fascinated by the future of this wide receiver core right now and where it goes, because that will change his impact in fantasy.
Yeah, of course. It just depends on Brandon Ayuk, who's been mentioned in trade rumors. Does he stay? Is he on the 49ers, as you've alluded to, Jay, or does he move on? The fact of the matter is that going to a Kyle Shanahan offense who gets the most out of his players, like whether it is this year or the future, Ricky Pearsall is going to be a thing in fantasy football, and for the 49ers, it's a great pick for them, great depth, and just adds to Brock Purdy's weapons.
Yep. Do you think this makes it more likely they would try and move on from Debo or Ayuk? Who is Pearsall more like?
Well, Pearsall's more like Ayuk because of the separating skills. You just wonder, would anyone take on Debo's money? As you don't want to say he's breaking down, but he's a guy that's hurt more often. Now, the question is, can they free up that Debo money, pay Ayuk, and have 2 elite separators for Brock Purdy? That's the dream if I'm Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers.
Okay, last pick of the first round of the NFL draft. The Carolina Panthers take Xavier Legette.
Nailed it. Good job, Jay.
After they trade up with the Bills, are you surprised that they traded into the first round to take Legette?
Well, they loved him, right? I mean, they're in his backyard, so they knew a lot about this guy. Late breakout player from South Carolina, a fifth-year player that was such a good special teamer for so long and then became their offense in every single way. They would scheme up throws to him. Right. They would throw him the ball down the field. He's a big-bodied player, 220, 225 pounds. Pretty good vertical long speed. Not the most agile guy, not an elite separator in one-on-ones, but he can catch the ball over defenders. So for the Panthers, they need to get more weapons for Bryce Young. They get aggressive to go get their guy, and a player that can climb above the ladder will probably help their young quarterback.
Another guy you could see coming on in the second half of the year. We need to see how does Bryce Young develop under Dave Canales. You would expect him to be the second passing option after Deontay Johnson, who obviously is now a member of the Carolina Panthers. So how much passing volume does that offense have? Can it support 2 fantasy-relevant wide receivers? But talented player who's going to a quarterback that has nowhere to go but up, right? And we expect this offense to be better under Canales.
There's some targets there, too.
For sure.
And Legette, was used in unique ways. He wasn't just an outside receiver that throw him a fade route or a jump ball. They would throw him screens, shallow crossers, just find ways to get the ball in his hands. I wonder if the Panthers think the same thing.
Do you think there's enough talent now around Bryce Young where he can be properly evaluated this season?
I want to see how this expensive offensive line gels together. But, yeah, I mean, they bought an offensive line. They've gone out and gotten receiver options in the pro market and now the draft market, and they hired a play caller.
I was going to say they hired a quarterback fixer coach,
right?
Like who made Baker Mayfield a thing.
They did everything they could do.
Resurrected Geno Smith the year before that. So, it
will be better for Bryce. I know everybody's out on him. It will be better.
100%. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.